Hey family, this is day 96 of our Reading Through the Bible Together in a Year series. Today we're in the book of 1 Kings, or Melachim, and we're covering chapters 6 and 7. Now where we are in the story is that Israel has officially been unified as all 12 tribes under one king, and it's Solomon, David's son. And Solomon starts off his reign kind of a little bit rocky, just at least from my perspective, because he just kills some of the guys that David wanted to make sure would get their justice for all of the wrong and evil that they had been doing. But, Solomon kind of starts there and gets rid of his kind of opponents, whatever that is. But then he does something very good. He goes to a high place and he meets God. And God asks him, ask for something, ask for anything and I'll give it to you. And Solomon asks for an understanding heart, a heart that listens. I talked about that very specifically, a heart that hears, and so that he can discern right and wrong. And God is so pleased with this answer that God says, I'm going to give you this wisdom, this ability to listen, this ability to discern between right and wrong, and I'm going to make you wealthy and a great king. So Solomon is starting to acquire wealth, wisdom, and we're seeing that he's wise. And so let's see what happens today. In the 480th year after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Shlomo's reign over Israel, in the month Ziv, which is the 2nd month, he began to build Yahweh's house. The house which King Shlomo built for Yahweh had a length of 60 cubits, and its width 20, and its height 30 cubits. The porch in front of the temple of the house had a length of 20 cubits, which was along the width of the house. 10 cubits was its width in front of the house. He made windows of fixed lattice work for the house. Against the wall of the house he built floors all around, against the walls of the house all around, both of the temple and of the inner sanctuary, and he made side rooms all around. The lowest floor was 5 cubits wide, and the middle was 6 cubits wide, and the third was 7 cubits wide. For on the outside he made offsets in the wall of the house all around, that the beams should not be inserted into the walls of the house. The house, when it was under construction, was built of stone prepared at the quarry, and no hammer or axe or any tool of iron was heard in the house while it was under construction. The door for the middle side rooms was in the right side of the house. They went up by winding stairs into the middle floor, and out of the middle into the third. So he built the house and finished it, and he covered the house with beams and planks of cedar. He built the floors all along the house, each 5 cubits high, and they rested on the house with timbers of cedar. Yahweh's word came to Shlomo, saying, Concerning this house which you are building, if you will walk in my statutes and execute my ordinances, and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then I will establish my word with you, which I spoke to David your father. I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will not forsake my people Israel. So Shlomo built the house and finished it. He built the walls of the house within the boards of cedar. From the floor of the house to the walls of the ceiling, he covered them on the inside with wood. He covered the floor of the house with cypress boards. He built 20 cubits of the back part of the house with boards of cedar from the floor to the ceiling. He built this within for an inner sanctuary, even for the most holy place. In front of the temple sanctuary was 40 cubits long. There was cedar on the house within, carved with buds and open flowers. All was cedar. No stone was visible. He prepared an inner sanctuary in the middle of the house within, to set the ark of Yahweh's covenant in there. Within the inner sanctuary was 20 cubits in length, and 20 cubits in width, and 20 cubits in its height. He overlaid it with pure gold. He covered the altar with cedar. So Shlomo overlaid the house with pure gold. He drew chains of gold across before the inner sanctuary, and he overlaid it with gold. He overlaid the whole house with gold until all the house was finished. He also overlaid the whole altar that belonged to the inner sanctuary with gold. In the inner sanctuary he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, each 10 cubits high. 5 cubits was the length of one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits was the length of the other wing of the cherub. From the tip of one wing to the tip of the other was 10 cubits. The other cherub was 10 cubits. Both the cherubim were of one measure and one form. One cherub was 10 cubits high, and so was the other cherub. He set the cherubim within the inner house. The wings of the cherubim were stretched out, so that the wing of the one touched the one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall, and their wings touched one another in the middle of the house. He overlaid the cherubim with gold. He carved all the walls of the house around with carved figures of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, inside and outside. He overlaid the floor of the house with gold, inside and outside. For the entrance of the inner sanctuary he made doors of olive wood. The lintel and doorposts were a fifth part of the wall. So he made 2 doors of the olive wood, and he carved on them carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold. He spread the gold on the cherubim and on the palm trees. He also made the entrance of the temple doorposts of olive wood, out of a fourth part of the wall, and 2 doors of cypress wood. The 2 leaves of the one door were folding, and the 2 leaves of the other door were folding. He carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and he overlaid them with gold fitted on the engraved work. He built the inner court with 3 courses of cut stone and a course of cedar beams. The foundation of Yahweh's house was laid in the 4th year in the month of Ziv. In the 11th year in the month of Bul, which is the 8th month, the house was finished throughout all its parts and according to all its specifications. So he spent 7 years building it. Shlomo was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. For he built the house of the forest of Lebanon. Its length was 100 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits, on 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams on the pillars. It was covered with cedar above over the 45 beams that were on the pillars, 15 in a row. There were beams in 3 rows, and window was facing window in 3 ranks. All the doors and posts were made square with beams, and window was facing window in 3 ranks. He made the hall of pillars. Its length was 50 cubits, and its width 30 cubits, with a porch before them, and pillars and a threshold before them. He made the porch of the throne where he was to judge, even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar from floor to floor. His house where he was to dwell, the other court within the porch, was of the same construction. He made also a house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom Shlomo had taken as a wife, like this porch. All these were of costly stones, even of stone cut according to measure, sawed with saws inside and outside, even from the foundation to the coping, and so on the outside to the great court. The foundation was of costly stones, even great stones, stones of 10 cubits and stones of 8 cubits. Above were costly stones, even cut stone according to measure, and cedar wood. The great court around had 3 courses of cut stone with a course of cedar beams, like the inner court of Yahweh's house and the porch of the house. King Shlomo sent and brought Hiram out of Tyre. He was the son of a widow of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in bronze. And he was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill to work all works in bronze. He came to King Shlomo and performed all his work. For he fashioned the 2 pillars of bronze 18 cubits high apiece, and a line of 12 cubits encircled either of them. He made 2 capitals of molten bronze to set on the tops of the pillars. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. There were nets of checker work and wreaths of chain work for the capitals which were on the top of the pillars, 7 for the one capital and 7 for the other capital. So he made the pillars, and there were 2 rows of pomegranates around the one network, to cover the capitals that were on the top of the pillars. And he did so for the other capital. The capitals that were on the top of the pillars in the porch were of lily work, 4 cubits. There were capitals above also on the 2 pillars, close by the belly which was beside the network. There were 200 pomegranates in rows around the other capital. He set up the pillars at the porch of the temple. He set up the right pillar and called its name Yachin, and he set up the left pillar and called its name Boaz. On the tops of the pillars was lily work, so the work of the pillars was finished. He made the molten sea 10 cubits from brim to brim, round in shape. Its height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits encircled it. Under its brim around there were buds which encircled it, for 10 cubits, encircling the sea. The buds were in 2 rows, cast when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, and 3 looking toward the west, and 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east. And the sea was set on them above, and all their hindquarters were inward. It was a hand-width thick. Its brim was worked like the brim of a cup, like the flower of a lily. It held 2,000 baths. He made the 10 bases of bronze. The length of one base was 4 cubits its width, and 3 cubits its height. The work of the bases was like this. They had panels, and there were panels between the ledges. And on the panels that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubim. And on the ledges there was a pedestal above, and beneath the lions and oxen were wreaths of hanging work. Every base had 4 bronze wheels and axles of bronze, and its 4 feet had supports. The supports were cast beneath the basin with wreaths at the side of each. Its opening within the capital and above was a cubit. Its opening was round like the work of a pedestal, a cubit and a half. And also on its opening were engravings, and their panels were square, not round. The four wheels were underneath the panels, and the axles of the wheels were in the base. The height of a wheel was a cubit and half a cubit. The work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel. Their axles, their rims, their spokes, and their hubs were all of cast metal. There were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each base. Its supports were of the base itself. In the top of the base there was a round band half a cubit high, and on top of the base its supports and its panels were the same. On the plates of its supports and on its panels he engraved cherubim, lions, and palm trees, each in its space with wreaths all around. He made the 10 bases in this way. All of them had 1 casting, 1 measure, and 1 form. He made 10 basins of bronze. 1 basin contained 40 baths. Every basin measured 4 cubits. 1 basin was on every one of the 10 bases. He set the bases, 5 on the right side of the house and 5 on the left side of the house. He set the sea on the right side of the house eastward and toward the south. Hiram made the pots, the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram finished doing all the work that he worked for King Shlomo in Yahweh's house. The 2 pillars, the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on top of the pillars, the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the pillars, the 10 bases, the 10 basins on the bases, the 1 sea, the 12 oxen under the sea, the pots, the shovels, and the basins. All of these vessels, which Hiram made for King Shlomo in Yahweh's house, were of burnished bronze. The king cast them in the plain of the Yarden, in the clay ground between Sukkot and Zaratan. Shlomo left all the vessels unweighed because there were so many of them. The weight of the bronze could not be determined. Shlomo made all the vessels that were in Yahweh's house, the golden altar and the table that the showbread was on, of gold, and the lampstands 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, in front of the inner sanctuary, of pure gold, and the flowers, the lamps, and the tongs of gold, the cups, the snuffers, the basins, the spoons, and the fire pans of pure gold, and the hinges both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, of the temple, gold. Thus all the work that King Shlomo did in Yahweh's house was finished. Shlomo brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, the silver, the gold, and the vessels, and put them in the treasuries of Yahweh's house. Cool. So now we get to see like the building of the temple, right? We had the building of the tabernacle, which was a whole ordeal at the very end of Exodus. But this temple is just like a much bigger tabernacle, and it's, permanent. It's made from incredibly heavy, huge pieces of stone, right? 8 by 10 cubit stone blocks and all this stuff overlaid with wood and gold and carvings and all this, and it's huge. And we see how beautiful this temple is and that Solomon gets to build the temple. But what's interesting is just the very next chapter is Solomon building his own house, and it's even bigger than God's temple. And I wonder if we're supposed to consider that, and we're supposed to think about that. Why is Solomon putting more effort into the size of his own house than God's house? So we'll see how that plays out a little bit. But as for now, is Solomon a great guy? Maybe. Is Solomon a not great guy? Maybe. Solomon does begin the downfall of Israel, and we're about to get to why. But I hope I've given you something to think about as you have a wonderful day.